Hello and welcome back to Redefine Parenting. I am your host, 𝙇𝙚𝙩𝙨. I want to welcome you to Spanglish World Network and her network on Zingo TV's channel 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on respective app stores and iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire Sticks, Roku, Roku Sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. So tonight, you know, Chuck, I'm like watching you. I'm like, okay, wait, what show is this? Because many of you are my listeners on Monday night as well with my co-host, Chuck Hogan, who I have asked to come tonight because we talked about something really important on Monday, Chuck, and it was how we cannot base our own fulfillment on someone else's expectations. And it kind of led us down a rabbit hole, which I wanted to explore on my channel here, since it's about parenting, about how we parents are stealing our kids' worth from them by setting expectations for them, making them feel through the way we're parenting that they're not good enough or they're going to disappoint us. So again, it's part of that topic, right? Like feeling your fulfillment as long as I exceed, or at least meet or exceed, my parents' expectations.
Yes. The answer is yes. So part of this is that there's kind of two sides of the same coin. In fact, I'm going to call this more like a Rubik's Cube. On one side of the cube, you have what we'll call safety. And that is that we're trying to set a frame of understanding that these are the things that can harm you, hurt you. And that's different than disappointment. That's different than lessons. That's different than being detrimental. Because what comes along with whether something is or isn't is judgment.
Right.
And that, from a parental perspective, is oftentimes our ego talking. And we'll be going, hey, I've been on this planet longer than you, so I know better. Well, guess what, y'all? You've been on this planet longer, but new math, you're still not getting it. So I'm just putting it out there that there's a reason why your kids never learn to program a VCR, because it's old. And so they're not necessary to do that. They're like going, oh, it's all on the cloud, Dad. Oh, this is how you access it, Dad. This is your login credentials. This is your cap code that, okay, wait, time out. Okay. So what's on the other side of the cube? Expectations.
Yeah.
We start to look at things as kind of black and white instead of, my gosh, it's an opportunity. And you and I both grew up, Vino, at a time when things were a little bit slower, when things, I will say, were a little bit, not any less pressing, but they didn't have the same level of severity. And why? Well, partially due to the fact that when something occurred, what would happen is that it would eventually get through the rumor mill, or it would just die out on its own because it wasn't publicized. You know, unless you made the town paper or the Gazette or a bulletin or some rumor was being spread around school, it probably was going to die on its own. In today's world, someone snaps a video of it, a picture of it, and without any provocation puts it out there, and people immediately start judging. So there's this kind of herd mentality of joint or communal judgment. Well, gosh, they must be a bad parent. Wait, what? Where did this extrapolation come from? And because I'll do more to avoid the pain of being a bad parent, I'm going to impose restrictions on my child that are completely unfounded. I'm like going, you're a kid. Right. You know what your job is? Your job's to screw up.
Right. Right. I 100% agree. And it's interesting because just piggybacking off what you said, because they're great points. One of them is we are so afraid of being judged for being a bad parent for the choices our kids are making outside the home. As if we said, you know what? take a nude picture of yourself today and send it to your boyfriend. Matter of fact, I want you to go buy a pack of cigarettes and smoke on campus. Matter of fact, what I want you to do is go ahead and don't forget to light a joint in the bathroom. It's almost like people are thinking that us parents are giving them the go ahead to do the stuff. And here's a newsflash. Us parents don't even know our kids are doing it.
Right.
And these are kids that are supervised, by the way. And we don't know that they're doing it because I don't know about you, Chuck, but I'm not following my kids to school. I'm definitely not following them when they go to the bathroom on a bathroom break.
Nope.
And I'm definitely not, following them as they're waiting in line for me to pick them up, because that would be impossible. If I'm picking them up, how am I following them? So that's just it, is that we could do the best that we can to set perimeters, boundaries that will teach our kids that you will be safe if you stay amongst these boundaries.
Right.
Now, because the way the brain grows, we already know they're going to step outside that boundary to say, well, a bus didn't hit me yet, so I'm okay, I'm safe.
Right.
What if I step 2 more feet outside the boundary? Is a bus going to hit me yet? Nope, I'm still safe. And next thing you know, they're making choices that their brain cannot even comprehend yet, the long-term effects, because they want to fit in, or they want to find their tribe, or they want the attention, or they want to be seen as someone that's great, cool, pretty, accepted. And then we get wind as parents and we're like, I mean, what? And then it's like the whispers that are behind your back. It's oh, if I was their parent, I would have. I almost want to say to parents, well, here you go. If you can do better, here you go.
It's as the old proverb says, don't cast stones in glass houses. There's this ideology that, number one, fitting in is so imperative. And yet I go, wow. So what you seek the most is to be independent and to be unique. And when you're being yourself, you're already there and don't require any additional augmentation, shifting, changes, or anything else. Yet you don't feel worthy because you're not living up to someone else's image. Correct. So if it's on social media, as an example, now we are both on social media. We are explicit in how we, I'll say, provide information and content and data. And I pray that it's always for the benefit and helping elevate people. That's our motive and intention. And that's one of the many reasons why I love you so much, and who you are and your heart and your integrity and what your calling is. On the flip side, I go, everyone's going to have an opinion about everything. Right. And there'll be some folks who will agree with us tonight, and there'll be some folks vehemently disagreeing and feel that, and it's okay. We're not here to be right or wrong. We're here to offer insights.
Right.
One of the insights is this. Our role models are highly suspect and questionable in today's environment. And people go, well, come on, Chuck, why? Why would you say that? And I said, well, because back in the day, if your role model was Marilyn Manson or a singer, you needed to go buy their music and their records. And the only exposure you really had, if you weren't following them in person or their neighbor, on an MTV video or go to one of their concerts.
Or wait, Teen Beat.
That's
the Teen Beat magazine, the magazine, 17, all these.
I was trying not to date myself that much, but the truth is that, yeah, so if it was Tiger Beat or Teen Beat or Billboard
Rolling
magazine,
out there.
Absolutely. And so why does this have to do with anything? There is a fundamental challenge in where influence comes from in today's day and age. And I will go on record as saying I applaud teachers who are active, loving, caring, and guiding.
100%.
I am disgusted by people who are just trying to collect a paycheck and who have given up on being a sphere of influence and owning their gravity as to the influence that they have over these young souls. There is, in my humble opinion, not a fine line. A huge when it comes to how people get to conduct themselves. And social media is so pervasive that it's having grown freaking adults think that, oh, if I could just learn how to twerk, if I could just learn how to do the backpack kid dance, if I could just go ahead and do this cute little video, I could get more likes on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I go, that stuff doesn't work on LinkedIn, by the way. And why? I said it's a different platform for professionals. So what if there was more of a social construct around the ethical and moral engagement without impinging on people's freedom of speech or expression?
Right. Right. But that would have to go back to values.
Every time.
And I really think that that's where us parents can draw a line in the sand and really, it was interesting. Let me back up a little bit. I was coaching a client today and I was helping them understand about, being able to visualize and experience something so they know that it's tangible to them. And I said, if your, oh my gosh, I did it bucket is more full than, oh my gosh, I'm afraid bucket, you will constantly want to do more. Right. And I said that here's what brings certainty. It's not the thought, it's the experience of that thought.
Yes.
That brings certainty. And that was an aha moment that came through my coaching. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. So if we can give our kids at home a positive experience with the thoughts of the values that we have and show them the repercussions of when you act like this is what happens. And when you act like this is what happens. And giving them the experience of understanding both and then letting them know that here's the thing, you have your own brain. And no matter what I imprint on your brain, you are still going to leave that door today and make a decision.
Right.
And you have to ask yourself one thing. Is it going to take me towards what I want? Or is it going to keep me away from what I want? And even a better question is it going to take me where I want sustainably? Or is it going to take me where I want in the moment and then take me back 10 spaces? And what I mean by that is, here's a great example. I have a client who's 16 years old and snuck out because he wanted to go to a party. The parents had said no. They knew about the party and, it's the end of the year. And the parents are like, absolutely not. Nothing's going to come great from this party. We've already been there, done that dance before. We're not doing it again. The answer is no. And the kid, of course, in that moment, snuck out, went to the party anyway. It was more important because the parents like, I just don't understand. We just built our trust back. How could he betray our trust? Because in that moment of instant gratification for an hour or two of that party was definitely worth him being grounded for 2 months. Because school's ending anyway, so it's not like he's going to miss out on much. And he's not going to have it. He already knows that he's not going to have his phone. So it's not like he can have FOMO because he's not going to really know what's going on. So he's already made up his mind that it is going to take him towards what he wants, just not sustainably, because now he's going to backtrack about 2 months. And again, that's part of growing pains.
It is. It is. And there's another element to this that you alluded to, which I love. And that is, what is the staying power and commitment of the parents when it comes to actually keeping them grounded for 2 months? Now that they're still working, he's at home. He may not have the cell phone, but he has a computer. He has access to the internet. He has access to Apple TV. He has access. I said, hey, if it's a Switch or Nintendo or Xbox or I'm like, he's gonna find a way. And that's his job. The resourcefulness, right? I mean, and this is the part that I've been forced to come to grips with as a parent. And that is, our children's responsibility is to push the envelope. They actually give us the opportunity to be. We
Right.
get to sharpen our tools constantly. They are technological in so many ways. And I still remember one thing. I control all the electricity. I can shut all of it off. Wait, but here's the deal. The sacrifice that it comes at is personal sacrifice. And so it's not just about they or me, it's about we. And when you make these decisions, it affects everybody.
And it's the parent guilt, right? And it's the parent guilt that says, okay, I think you've been punished enough and I think you learned your consequences. So forget the 2 months. You've done 2 days and we're proud of you. Here's your phone back. And so again, and the kid knows this, right? So there's no follow through. There's no consistency. But you brought up something about resourcefulness. It's, if you told me that, you and I both have, I have adult kids, you have an adult kid. And if one of the things that I think we're both proud of is that our kids are resourceful. Mm-hmm. And yet we weren't proud of them when they were resourceful when they were teenagers. It was like, yeah. And it's funny because I had a client and the daughter was 14 and she got all her electronics taken away. And to your point, she had an Xbox and they didn't realize that she was able to, hijack the internet when it was like turned off. I don't even know what that meant, but apparently it was to get internet. And she was texting through Xbox. So I didn't know Xbox, you can text, but you can. And they were so mad. And I'm like, wow, that is so impressive. And they're like, what? I'm like, what a gift that she could be so resourceful in a time like this. You know what it tells me? We need to be even more resourceful and know the avenues are going to take, see the gift in it, and be one step ahead of them.
You brought up a point too when you said parent guilt, and I'm going to take it a step further than that. It's actually parent shame. And here's why. They get to such a point where they're exhausted, where they're like going, I don't want to have to entertain them. I don't want to have to keep them busy. I don't want to have to keep them out of trouble. And so they will go ahead and go back on their commitment as to what the appropriate, I'll say, cost of admission was, i.e. consequence, and because it's easier for them.
Right.
And I start to go, wow. So we are not teaching fortitude, commitment. We are not teaching about accountability. We are literally showing that through a modest amount of compliance that you can forego the circumstance. And this is one of the reasons why I believe in today's climate, young adults are not getting the lessons because they get left off. Going, okay, you experienced enough pain. And I go, compared to what?
Right.
Compared to being incarcerated? Comparing to maybe becoming a parent that you didn't know you were going to become a grandparent?
Right.
To becoming a victim of violence or possibly bodily or mental damage? What's the consequence worth for placating someone and not letting them have the lesson? And this has been the single largest challenge in my world, is being steadfast, that when we make a determination about these are the consequences for what transpired. Well, I made a mistake. Yes. You said that that's our occupation. Yes. And you've got a PhD in screw ups and I love you for it. And here's the cost for it. Because saying that you've gotten a lesson because you got caught isn't the same as getting the lesson.
No, and we're not. I'm sorry.
Please.
Go ahead. I was going to say, so we're setting them up to fail then ultimately, because you do something wrong, you show up to work 5 times late and you're fired. And now they don't know what to do with being fired because they never had someone like, once you get fired, you're done. Like, you're not going back to beg for your job. You're done. And
Exactly.
that's going to be their first experience of understanding that consequences are there to teach us a gift. And there is no going back. What do you mean I can't go back? What do you mean that in 2 days, if I show up better, you won't hire me back? And this is where I say that we have got to do better as parents. And I say this all the time, is that if we know better, we do better.
Mm-hmm.
I know better now from the mistakes I made parenting my 29 and 24-year-old. So I do better now for my almost 11-year-old twins, and then I screw up with them, and I can do better when I am with my 6-year-old granddaughter.
Right.
It's constantly looking at, where do I need to show up better because I know more so I can do better. And, just to shift this a little bit, because now here's where the real issue is that I'm seeing, and I'm curious, because I know that you coach some kids too, is what you're seeing is that parents, I have a handful of clients like this where the kids want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to go with, one of my clients that's a boy, and he's great at football, loves football. And he was going to go out. He wanted to be the captain of the football team. And then he realized, no, I think I'm just going to concentrate on my position and what I'm doing. And I'm going to let somebody else have that responsibility. But he already told his parents that he thinks he was going to go out. And of course, his parents are like, of course you are. Yes, you're going to be captain of the football team. And then the parents find out later that he didn't get it. And they're like, I mean, why didn't you get it? I just don't understand. Like, why did you get it? And the kid says, well, I decided the last minute I wasn't going to do it. I just decided I wasn't. What do you mean you're not going to do it? Do you understand our family name? Your father was the captain of the football team. Your brother was the captain of the football team. And you just decided that you're not? Are you
Right.
even a part of our family? And so now this kid feels so blamed and shamed. It's the love for football is dwindling away now because he feels like he's just the biggest screw up. And again, there is an expectation from his parents, and now he feels he can only be fulfilled as a person, be enough, if he meets those expectations of those parents. And I'm going to tell you, Chuck, I am seeing this more and more and more, that these parents are like, no, you must be president of this. You must be captain of the cheerleaders. You must be captain of football. And it's like, but what if they don't want it?
Right. It's funny you say that, because we had this experience with our daughter, Keely. Keely is our youngest of 3. She's grown up with a brother who's been involved with leadership and personal development and life enhancement since he was 14 years old. And the same with her 19-year-old sister, who's now going to be a sophomore in college. And so Keely's extremely driven. And she got invited last year to be part of leadership. So they said, if you're interested, you go ahead and do your interrogatories. You have an interview. You state your claim as to why you believe you would be a good leader. And so the band directors, not the students, not peer group, the band directors all got together, and she was voted as a sophomore to start that. Well, this year, she's like, okay, leadership. And I go, okay, let's look at what leadership was last year. And she goes, Dad, it was a lot of struggle. It was a lot of stuff going on. It was a lot. And I was like, uh-huh. And so why do you want to do it again? Why would you sign back up? And she goes, because I'm learning a lot. Wow. And I'm expanding a lot. And I said, okay, great. What if you don't get it? So we're setting her up and going, what if you don't get it? And she goes, well, then it wasn't meant to be. And I'll still be in color guard and I'll do my bit. Well, she gets voted captain. So we're like, ruh-roh. And quite frankly, there was another senior who was extremely upset that she got captain over her. There was another senior who got captain. And so now it's Keely and this other captain. what's interesting about this, to your point, it's not something that she was seeking to do out of ego. She was seeking to do it out of growth. And so going back to the fundamentals of what we're discussing when we talk about value alignment, a lot of this has to do with motive and intention. What
Yes.
is the experience that you're looking to have? To your point, with athletes in specific, and this is happening in academia as well. Hey, your brother was a straight A student. Your sister was a straight A student. What's wrong with you?
Right.
Whose genes did you get? And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Or you want to go to UNC Wilmington? No. You're going to go to Duke. You're going to go to UNC Chapel Hill.
Because that's where our family goes. That's the family school.
Right.
Now, here's what's interesting about that. As a parent, are you seeking your child's happiness and progress and prosperity? Or are you seeking to have your legacy fulfilled so that way you don't have egg on your face when it comes to, well, your grandfather went there, your great-great-grandpappy went there, and you're going to go there too. And it's like going, I want to study art at,
right.
MoMA. I want to be able to be a fashion designer and go to the Fashion Institute in New York. I don't want to go to Duke. I don't want to go to Baylor. I don't want to go to, I want to go to Toys R Us. I'm a Toys R Us kid. I want to play with toys. I was like, okay, that was that. Okay, sorry, that's the university I wanted to go to. And so the point, to your point, which I love this conversation, is get over yourself, parents.
Yes.
Freaking knock it off. Your kids are your kids. They were born out of love. Yes, they're your responsibility. Vinu brought up, why is it when after they turn 18? Because you're no longer legally responsible for them. Up to that point, you have this built-in time clock that says they are my kid, I'm responsible. Well, guess what? My oldest is going to turn 23 next year, and I'm still freaking responsible for him because I love him.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I let him off the hook with anything and everything, because he needs to learn the life lessons that when you get outside of these doors, that the food that's in your refrigerator is because you bought it.
Oh, amen. Chuck, I love what you just said, because here's the deal. And I like what our listener is saying. They're vicariously living through their kid, right? And here's where, my whole mission in life is to give these kids a childhood they won't have to heal from. And part of that is they don't grow up. They're a lawyer because that's what their mom and dad said they're going to do.
Right.
And now they're suicidal because they're unhappy. They're tired of the stress. And really what they wanted to do is train dogs. But the parents like, you're not going to be a dog trainer. You want me to go to my father, who is a Fourth Circuit judge, and tell him that his grandson's a dog trainer? No. We are all lawyers, and you will be a lawyer. And so now there's trauma that they call trauma for this now adult to heal, because they did not feel that either they were going to be suicidal when they were a kid because they're never going to live up to their parents' expectation, or now they're suicidal because they're adults and they're living up to their parents' expectations, but they don't have their own identity now because they never got to do what they love. And I'm telling you, because I literally have clients that will share with me that they don't know what they want to do in college. You know what the I don't know is I don't know if you're going to say that I'm still your kid if I choose to go to this college. I don't know if you're still going to, if you're going to disown me because I don't want to do business, or I don't want to do real estate, or I don't want to take over the family law practice.
And listen, ChatGPT and AI are taking over a lot of things right now. And I can tell you, as the proud parents of a soon-to-be graduating senior with a biochem major and a comp sci minor, we talked him out of going to medical school. And people are like going, wait, you did what? He was all set to study for the MCATs and go into medicine. And with the trends that we're seeing in AI and the change in disposition as to what the amount of that education is, and I said, if he was completely compelled to do it because he loves being in service to people, I'm going to support him 1,000,000%. we found out, because there are so many doctors in the family, that it was an expectation because he has an uber high intelligence level. And it's like going, hey, you picked the 2 hardest majors you could have at the university, no joke, and you've excelled. You've done lab work, you've done research. So now he's looking at deep tech. Why? Because he goes, being stimulated, body, mind, and spirit, and on the forefront of technology is something that is like, ooh, there's something scintillating about that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I go, what? You don't want to check someone's prostate? You don't want to, like, you know, bust up some kidney stones? You don't want to say, have someone say, and use a tongue depressor? He goes, no. I go, but helping map nanotech technology or robotics or, you know, mapping the brain. Elon Musk is doing this thing now where they're actually putting in computer chips and they can actually reactivate nervous system, where now people can actually have sensory motor movement and skill in their body again. They're learning how to walk, learning how to use their hands. Wow. It's like where there's been severed nerves. It's like, holy smokes. So to see his eyes light up, and I was like, okay, did we just do something bad or something good? And we're like going, no, we did something. And what we did is we gave him freedom of choice and an opportunity to understand that he's not limited by the scope of what the degree says on the piece of paper.
Right, right. You know, and here's where it all comes back to again, what we as parents feel. Because I remember when I felt in my house, it was a non-negotiable. I'm Indian. You will go to college. You will. And I remember when I graduated my bachelor's degree, I said, Mom, are you coming? Because like oh, you're getting married. You're never going to get your bachelor's degree. And so when I was finally graduating with honors, by the way, Mom, I'm graduating. You come to my oh, it's just a bachelor's degree, she said. And I know she didn't mean it that way. Right. And yet that's how I took it, right? It's, do you know, it took me 8 years to get this bachelor's degree, and I finally did it, being married and having 2 kids, and I still finished my bachelor's degree. And so it was already a non-negotiable with my boys. Cameron and Connor, you are going to college. I have said that. You know, I did my vision board. I put UNC Chapel Hill because my son Cameron was going to go to UNC Chapel Hill. He talked about it, and now he's getting ready to graduate. And I'm like, wait, weren't we supposed to look at colleges? Like, I'm not good at this because I've never had a kid do this before. He's like, what are you talking about, Mom? I said, you're going to college. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, oh, yes, you are. He's like, oh, no, I'm not. I said, Cameron, you are going to college. He's like, Mom, I'm 18 and I'm not. And I'm like, what? And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to show my face in town? How am I going to tell the parents, like, kids are going to Alabama, kids are going to Duke, and I got to tell my kids I'm going to college? It was one more thing to say that I failed as a parent. And then I was like, well, okay, I got one more. I got Connor. He's going to go to college and he's getting ready to graduate. And I said, okay, now I know that we missed the boat on something. Like, we need to figure out, honey, what college you're going to go to. Like, you got, you know, a half a semester left. We're going into January. We got to figure this out. He's like, I'm not going to college, Mom. I hate school. I'm like, no. I got to feel like a better parent. Where did I go wrong? And I'm like interviewing parents, Chuck, what did you do to get your kid to go to college? And they're like, made it a non-negotiable. Well, so did I. I made it a non-negotiable. And here's the deal. Both my boys are successful. Both my boys are happy. And both my boys are welders. And they didn't go to college. And they make really good money welding.
Yep.
And I couldn't be more proud of my 2 boys.
Yes.
Sitting here today and looking back at those moments that I stole from myself and labeled it disappointment and shared that with them.
It's a liberating lesson.
Yes.
When we get to understand that their happiness and prosperity is not for us to decide, that we tee it up and we set it up the best that we can. And I love this because Eric's saying it's a non-negotiable according to who? And I said, well, this is where the omnipotent ego of being a parental unit, the operable word being unit.
And judgment, right? That big word that you and I keep using, that word judgment.
Oh, it's
fitting in, thinking I fit in with all the other parents.
well, and there's it's even comes down to more fundamental and core belief than that, and that's worthiness. That are we worthy? Were we worthy parents? Were we the best parents? Were we? And I fall back on did the best that I could in the moment with the resources I had access to.
Correct.
Last time I checked, I didn't like bring this child into this world. God bless my wife for doing the heavy lifting. And that all of a sudden I was like, honey, look at page 14 in the owner's manual. It tells you exactly what that little thing in the front of them is and how to go ahead and adjust that so you don't get sprayed when you're putting a diaper on. And I'm like, honey, it's a fountain. And he has good PSI. I was like, okay, wait, what? The manual didn't say anything about this. I was like, whoa, what's that? It's like going, oh, that's called colostrum. Okay, we're going down the wrong path here. I'm just saying baby wipes are important, and understanding that we learn through experience, and our intentions are never to take away from our children. The perverse situation in this scenario is that when we are loving so much that we want to safeguard them against any pain, any disappointment, and how can we allow ourselves to go ahead and let our kids be the role model for self, rather than always looking and saying, oh, I want to do what dad does. And I'm like, please don't. Please don't. I mean, I've got like at least 12 masters in screwing up. That's true story. In fact, I'm probably a tenured professor at some university when it comes to don't do this. And so ultimately, my wife and I know you and Brian very well, we've given a lot of latitude and leeway to let them stew in this for longer than we used to. So with Cole, we were more expedient about pointing out things. With Marina, because she's our first daughter, there was a level of sensitivity that came along and caring and communication. So not taking away her security, but making sure that she understood that there are options, and she is fiercely independent in some ways, but not when it comes to our checking account. And so there's codependence, and I go, okay. But when it comes to making food, when it comes to living on our own, I go, well, there's still some codependence because we're footing the bill for everything. Mm-hmm. And I said, but isn't it again the lesson? Because if they were at home, wouldn't you be doing the same thing? Mm-hmm. And now at least they're exercising some independence. So for both of your boys, for Cameron and Connor, living on their own, financing themselves, having their experiences, and they're learning along the way.
They are. And you know what I have realized, and this is why this show is called Redefine Parenting, is, I created this show to really expose the lessons that I have learned along the way, all the way, and I've always said that, we have to parent through fresh eyes. And the way I parented Cameron and Connor was old baggage of not feeling worthy myself, hence the parent shame that you so graciously redefined, right? It's not guilt, it's the shame of, people already think this of me as a single mom, and now they're going to know that even more. Like, I'm just adding more certainty that I'm not worth it because my kids aren't going to college. And what I realized is God didn't give me my children to dictate and to command and demand. He gave me these children to be a guiding force. And that's the best that I can do. And that's what I do with my twins. And yes, me and Brian talk about college, and the kids have asked, do we have to go? And Brian and I both tell them, when the time comes, you need to figure out, is it something that you want to do?
Right.
And is that college degree going to help you go further in what you want? If you want to be, a doctor or a lawyer, well, let's see what AI is doing then, if that's even a profession for humans anymore. But if it is, and you choose you want to do that, you
right.
definitely need a degree. And if not, then you need to figure out is it worth the time and effort for a piece of paper that you don't even need to do what you want to do in life and to start earlier? And, you know, I always wanted to be a hairstylist, and I love doing hair. And so I'm glad that, you know, one out of my three daughters loves me doing her hair because I get to practice. And I was telling Brian the other day when I was doing her hair, we were in Myrtle Beach this past weekend. And I was like, and I said, and she's like, "Oh my God, I love my hair, Vinu." And I said, "Thank you. You know, I really should have went into hair instead of coaching." And Brian's like, "I don't know about that." But I do say this. One day I will have my certification in doing hair because there's still a calling in me.
Yeah.
And back then, again, we have to redefine how we're parenting, because if we're parenting the way our parents parented us, we're not going to win. And my mom said back then, "You will not do hair. There's no money in hair."
Right.
Little did she know it's going to be a big growing profession where you can make a lot of money. And so I believed in that. And I learned that I can't do that to my kids now.
You know, currency is changing.
Yes.
The value that is propagated. So if you are a hairstylist to the stars, you're not worried about money. Something struck a chord with me in what you said, and I want to thank you for this. I'm going to move beyond the shame. And I'm going to move to a different area, which is insecurity.
Yes.
Don't let your parental and personal insecurity become the legacy that you leave on your children. And it is a powerful testament to the fact that so many folks in living in their two primal fears, which is I'm not worthy, and if I'm not worthy, then I'm not loved, is that they don't want to lose the love of their child. They don't want to lose the love of their community or their spouse or their family. And so in order to maintain it, they will toe the company line of constantly trying to figure out how to better themselves instead of making it about we, which is not just your happiness, because the perception is I'll be happier if they're successful. And the truth is you'll be happier when they are happier.
Yes. Amen. Amen to that. That is so true. And here's the other thing that you just touched on. We have to allow our kids to decide what happiness means to them.
Yes.
We have to stop impinging upon them what our definition is. Like, we cannot encroach them, say, "Nope, this is happiness. You're wrong. You're wrong." And, you know, and I brought this up on our Monday show, Chuck, about Connie when she said, everyone's perception is right.
Yes.
Who are you to say his perception's wrong? And who is he to say your perception's wrong? You're both right.
Always.
Through the filters that you have. And so are our kids, by the way.
Yes.
Our kids' perception is right. And, you know, and it's hard. It's hard for us parents to think that we're being mean. It's hard because in our mind, no, I'm not being mean. I'm just telling you for the fifth time what the rules are that you keep breaking.
Right.
And now you have you have 5 different consequences now. So I'm really not trying to be mean. I'm really trying to give you a lesson so you stop breaking the rule. And yet they're right. And their eyes were mean in that moment. And to appreciate it.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
Well, so here's where it gets twisted, right? You're like going, "Hey, I'm resourceful too." And so you're like going, "For as many ways as you can figure to screw up, I can figure that many ways to punish you." And it's like, whoa, am I horse trading with a youngster? And it's like, holy smokes, how low have I sunk in my standards that I need to be right instead of being loving, instead of being understanding, instead of showing genuine care and concern? Because I have a belief in my core, and that is no one is intentionally trying to harm, defame, hurt, marginalize, or break the rules just because. What are they missing? What is it that they're not feeling? What disconnection is there that they feel so heck bent to push the envelope to that level where not only themselves, but someone else might be harmed?
Right. Well, I think right there, when we say put down your baggage and parent through fresh eyes, it really comes down to adopt new values, adopt new belief systems. Like that's a great one to borrow, right? Yeah. You have a belief that no one is intentionally trying to harm you, defame you, make you miserable. That's never going to be their intention. You would approach them or what they say, you would respond versus react.
Yes.
And this goes to relationships. I mean, first of all, and you and I could do a whole nother show on just parenting relationships with each other, because that seems to be forgotten.
Oh.
I was just telling the family I was coaching last night, I said, you're horse trading with your daughter. You're walking on eggshells because she knows that if I have a behavior, you're going to go give in because you don't want her to have the behavior. So she is in charge. And she's actually the parent guiding herself because she's ruling the roost.
Yes.
And you're horse trading with her that, okay, well, if you be kind tonight, then I'll do this.
And they're in competition with one another to gain favor. And it's like, for the love of Pete, who are you people?
Right.
It's like you're called parents, not parental unit 1 and 2, right. Not camera 1, camera 2. It's like, are you like communicating? Because if what you're seeking is communication with your child and you're not communicating with each other, it's like, oh, and this is the kiss of death when they go, oh, I'm good with it. Just ask your mom. Or it's like, no, sweetie, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go have a conversation with mom. We are going to go ahead and discuss this for a moment. Is that okay? You've done nothing wrong. We love you. We just need to look at this real quick and we'll come to you. Okay, cool. Because now it's conjoined. Now there's no bifurcation. Now it's not separation, divide and conquer. This is, hey, we love you. And now there's communication at a level that we, not just mommy and me, we are on the same page.
Right.
That framework, because we talk about this all the time, rules are there as a guideline.
Guideline only.
Not as an absolute. I said, now there's universal laws, growing, dying, listen, I don't control the ocean. I don't control the lunar eclipse. I don't control how bright the sun is. What I can do is what I'm wearing, where my intention goes, where I'm standing, do I seek cover? How am I showing up in any of these environments?
Right. No, I love that. So for our listeners, here's what I would like to share with you is if you want your child to feel they can come to you and talk to you and tell you what's great about the college they want to go to versus the college you want them to go to, ask them what they want and ask them what's their why behind it. And then ask them how you can support them in it. And if you have a different suggestion, ask them, are you okay if I give you a couple suggestions? And just through my filters, through my opinion, doesn't make it wrong or right. And whatever you choose, I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to support you. And I am still going to be your biggest fan. And then let's see how the conversation changes.
Invite them to learn that you get to learn together. That you get to learn together. It's not just you or me. Hey, as you're experiencing this, we will grow together.
Yes.
Because I'm telling you right now, we don't all have all the answers and we don't need to.
No.
This is a get to, not a have to.
And that's the fun of being a parent, is exploring the world day by day with all the different changes that are coming in. And my listeners know this, and Chuck, you've heard me say this a bazillion times, be curious, not critical.
Yep.
Be curious, not critical. and watch how your relationship with your spouse changes. Watch how your relationship with your partners change, your business partners, your kids change when we get curious and not critical. Chuck, 30 seconds. Anything you want to leave our listeners with?
I just want to thank everyone who's been commenting tonight. So for Craig, our mother in Ghana, we have Michael, we have Eric, we have again Craig Richards and Katie Carlson. Thank you. Again, this is our way of helping create maybe some distinctions, insights, and some questions where people can actually find more answers. And so we're so grateful to be with you. And Vino, it's always a pleasure to be with you, my dear friend. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. And if you enjoyed this conversation with Chuck and I, please visit us live on Zingo TV channels 250 and 251 every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time live. And Chuck and I have a show called Live Now with Vino and Chuck. But for now, again, as Chuck said, thank you all for tuning in, commenting, and being a part of our show. If you're finding value in this conversation here on our show, please join our Redefine Parenting group on Facebook for even more tips and conversation. Do someone you know a favor and share my group with them as well, so they too can hear what they need to in order for them to feel supported in their parenting journey. Thank you for joining the conversation tonight. This show can be also heard on Spanglish Radio Network, www.spanglishworld.ca for all your news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.